my Bahama land, yeah. Friends in every place, a smile on every face. Children at play, time with family today. Someone fill my plate, homemade bread, I can't wait. I can't get enough, I will always stay in touch with my Bahama land, yeah.
Rare Voice introduces Bahamaland, an unlimited nationwide calling plan for only $5 a month. So call home today and connect again with Bahamaland. Home never felt so close.
My Bahamaland, yeah.
The Christian Council blasts government after its web shop announcement. We've also got reactions from the web shop boss's attorney and the business community. Is the country ready for an openly gay politician? Plus, a look at Bahamar's new golf course and clubhouse. We've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. I'm Buonic Toot, and NB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, few people were surprised today when the Bahamas Christian Council held a news conference to slam the Christie administration over its decision to push to regularize web shops by July 1st. The Christian Council president said the Christie administration's legacy is riding on what happens as a result of this move and asserted he will never vote in another referendum.
Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I know one thing. I'm not supporting anymore.
And that includes the constitutional
Any more referendum, I am not supporting because it's a waste of my time.
Whenever the constitutional referendum is held, one person who won't be voting is Bahamas Christian Council President Dr. Ranford Patterson. He charged that the government would set a dangerous precedent by choosing to ignore the results of last year's gambling referendum.
It's dangerous. Because if we are a democracy and we govern based on democracy, Bahamian people says no to something. As a matter of fact, why come to me for my advice and I give it and you determine that my advice isn't worth anything? I prefer you not to come to me. Just do what you want to do.
When Tourism Minister Obi Wilshcombe announced in the House of Assembly on Wednesday that web shops would be regulated, he predicted that the church would not be happy about that decision. However, he said the church will preach and teach, but the government must govern. Patterson wasn't too happy about that comment either.
I thought it was very interesting that all of a sudden that our job is only now to preach and to teach, when we have all the last years, many years, let me put it that way, we've been actively involved not just in the teaching and preaching, but also in helping and supporting the work of our governments over the years.
Only about 45% of registered voters turned up to vote. Results from the Parliamentary Registration Department show that 17,000 more people voted no on the question of web shop gaming than those who voted yes. He says the more than 50,000 people who voted against the regulation and taxation of web shops on January 28th have nothing to be ashamed of or disappointed over.
History will record that the Bahamian people, led by the church, stood against what we believe will be the negative impact of gambling in our country. We told the Prime Minister before, Prime Minister, if you want to legalize numbers, you go ahead and do it, but not on the backs of the Bahamian people. You cannot blame us, can't blame anyone. At the end of the day, the Prime Minister's legacy, the legacy of this government, is riding on what happened as a result of the legalization of numbers.
Despite being diametrically opposed to any form of gambling, the Christian Council president says their church will still be there after web shops are regulated.
We will continue to be the church on the 2nd of July, as we are today. The church has always been good at picking up the pieces, and the church will continue to be there to pick up the pieces of those who fall through the cracks.
Meantime, the attorney representing several web shop bosses says they will wait to see if the Christie administration follows through with its promise before abandoning their year-long legal battle with the government. They commenced legal action in January 2013 to stop government from shutting them down following the failed gambling referendum. Wayne Monroe told NB12 today if the government does act prudently with good sense, there would be no further litigation fees for him to collect.
And I say this with the greatest respect to Minister Wilcombe and the PLP government. When there's delivery of the legislation and it makes the lawsuit unnecessary, then of course it's bound to be discontinued if there is nothing else to be suing the government over.
Monroe called Wilcombe's announcement in Parliament last evening a victory for common sense and good judgment. Before legislation is brought to Parliament, Monroe says they hope to give the government web shop bosses views.
Once the legislation is changed, once the Lotteries and Gaming Act goes, then the substratum of what the litigation is about will go. If it's replaced by something that means that none of the arguments we're running could be run, then there would be no point amending and the matter would be discontinued at that point.
The attorney says his clients have accepted that they will make less money after their numbers businesses are regulated.
That's just the reality. They are willing to, as it were, take that hit because persons were always concerned about why they wanted to be regulated. And they indicated that there were persons coming to the market who were being less than honorable in their dealings with the public. And so in a regulated environment, you're not going to be able to be cowboys.
Monroe says consumers would also have the benefit of knowing internet gaming is regulated. Several businessmen say they welcome legislation to regulate web shop gaming, especially considering the impending implementation of value-added tax. Dana Smith has that angle.
D'Aguilar had previously hit out at the government for its decision to implement value-added tax while ignoring the potential resources that could be gained from taxing web shops. He said today he commends Wilcombe's latest remarks, although the government spent a lot of money to get to this point.
I think it's an excellent move. I think this is long overdue. I think the government wasted a lot of money coming to this decision, but thank God that they have come to this decision because they couldn't stop it. They couldn't eradicate it. So let's tax it and regulate it.
D'Aguilar, who stressed he's neither pro nor anti-VAT, has criticized the government in the past for seeking to implement value-added tax while being inconsistent with current tax collection methods and neglecting to regulate the country's web shops. However, D'Aguilar said while this would provide revenue, he does not believe taxing web shops will be a viable alternative to VAT. But he said it's still a good move towards restraining the nation's massive deficit.
No. I don't think that taxing the web shops will solve your deficit problem. The government is running a deficit of $450 million a year. Taxing web shops is not going to yield $450 million. This is just something else that we're putting in the pot to try and arrest this enormous deficit that our politicians have put us in.
As for opponents of web shops, D'Aguilar noted gaming is something that happens worldwide and is regulated, and the proceeds from taxation could go towards charitable causes.
For those that are opposed to it, you know, this form of games of chance goes on many countries of the world, and it's taxed and regulated, and the money that's raised from it goes to excellent causes like sports, like helping the poor. And I think this is long overdue, and I commend the PLP government for taking this bold step.
Senior Vice President at Baha Mar, Robert Sands, had also called for the taxation of web shops. Weighing in on this latest development today, he called it a promising sign the government might implement VAT at a lower rate.
I think it's a very promising sign. The government has listened to some of the recommendations of the tourism industry. And I think we see this as the beginning of their openness to review the submissions that we have told them that we will submit to them by the end of March.
Taxing web shops was part of the Bahamas Hotel and Tourism Association's Smart Tax Plan, which it plans to present to the government this month. Sands gave details on the plan earlier this week. He said the plan is intended as an alternative to VAT.
We are extremely encouraged by the fact that the government has come out positively today, accepting one of our recommendations that may have an impact on the amount of VAT that they may introduce in July of this year.
Reporting for NB12, I'm Dana Smith.
The Bahamas Christian Council also took on the growing debate over the rights of the LGBT community today, and Fred Mitchell's comments about the irrelevance of sexual preference in politics. Patterson says he will never support an openly gay candidate in an election. Jasmine Bonamy reports.
Despite Minister of Immigration and Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell's assertion that a person's sexual preference has nothing to do with politics, members of the Christian Council strongly disagree. In fact, today, head of the Christian Council, Reverend Dr. Ranford Patterson, made some very candid comments, insisting that the Bahamas is not ready for an openly gay politician.
Now, I don't know what Mr. Mitchell's position on this LGBT, whatever it is. I don't know his position on that. But the point I make is, someone asked a question, whether we are ready for a gay minister or gay member of parliament. The answer is still no.
When asked by reporters if that is a regressive way of thinking in this day and age, Patterson said no. He made it clear that he would not vote for an openly gay candidate and insisted that neither would Bahamians. He said it goes against everything the Bible speaks of.
Do not tell me that you're gay and expect me to support you.
So you never vote for a gay candidate in an election?
The country will never vote for a gay candidate in the election.
The question of sexual preference and elections arose yesterday when Mitchell was asked during a news conference if any open member of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender community could ever be elected to Parliament or even as a leader of the country. Mitchell said that's irrelevant, adding that the only thing that matters is the content of your character.
I have no problem with people being treated based on their abilities. But why? What's the purpose of declaring that you're homosexual and I must accept it? What's the purpose of that? What's the purpose of us? I mean, what do we gain by it? I hear people always saying that these people want rights. What rights do they want? They can go everywhere I go in this country. They can do anything I do in this country. The only thing that they cannot do is get married. Is that what they want?
The Christian Council President and Bishop Albert Hepburn of United Christian Church also took issue with the Foreign Affairs Minister's suggestion that Dr. Miles Monroe was ignorant because he called for Mitchell's removal from that ministerial post.
It'll be a cold day in hell, all right, when preachers cannot preach the gospel in this country.
Perhaps have his view about it. And Miles Monroe is coming from the Bible. The Bible itself warns against homosexuality.
In a recent speech in Trinidad and Tobago, Mitchell said that his political career suffers because of his support for LGBT rights. Bahamas Faith Ministries International President Dr. Miles Monroe has said the Prime Minister should replace Mitchell because he does not represent the majority of views of Bahamians. Mitchell said yesterday that while he has enjoyed a successful career, the last 3 days following Monroe's comments have proven his point. Reporting for NB12 News, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.